Hello, this is Chris Gannon. I would like to show you a trick that I've been using recently using GreenSock's Stagger 2 functionality, and in particular the cycle feature. And I'm using it, the cycle feature. Sorry, well, let's start with the Stagger 2. If you want several elements to perform an animation in quick succession, so one after another, so you can have a nice rippling effect of things fading in or scaling up, sort of in a sort of a ripple one after another very quickly, that you would use Stagger 2 or Stagger from or from 2. Now, there is an extra feature called Cycle. When you do your Stagger 2, it allows you to cycle through those elements that you're staggering and apply specific properties or functionality to them. So it kind of does an internal loop, or it cycles through those elements, and so you can perform logic on them. So, and what I've been doing recently is, if you'll notice with this, when I click on one of the icons, it selects the one that I've chosen and tells all the other ones to go to its sort of dim off position. And in the past, I've done various loops and sort of creating old IDs. If old ID equals new ID and current ID and all this sort of stuff. When actually Stagger 2, in tandem with the cycle feature, can handle this really well. So I'm going to show you how to do that. It's the result isn't going to look exactly like this, because this took quite a long time to do with all the colours and various other interaction and animation stuff. But I'm just going to show you the bare bones of using the cycle feature of Stagger 2 to create to use it like a sort of a radio button functionality. All right. So let's hop over to Illustrator, and I've got the menu items and the icons drawn out. So let's just investigate what we've got. So in the menu group, that's just a group of 4 circles. So I twirl that down, and even though it says ellipse, they're circles. And in the icon group, which is on top, right, which is this one, I twirl that down, and I've got, if I just jump into that, I've got the basket and the settings and the chat and the alert. I haven't bothered to name them because I'm going to show you why I don't need to. Although in practice, if you've got a large icon system, or if you've got a big an SVG that's very complex, it's always a good idea to name your SVG tags, because otherwise you're going to get in a mess because you don't know what anything is. But we don't need to at the moment. What we do need to do, make sure though, is that the group is named. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select. I've got a background here as well, which is the same size as my my stage. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to select the menu group and the icon group, and I'm going to go to File, Export Selection, and I'm just going to export selection as an SVG, and it pops up a box here. And now I'm not actually going to spit it out as an SVG. All I want to do is show the code, making sure I've got presentation attributes on, and turn minify off. So I'm going to show the code, and it comes up with something like this. Now this is just a text editor, so I'm actually going to copy that, close it, and then just put it into an SVG so I can see the styling. Okay, and that's it. So we've got our menu group with the circles inside, and we've got the icon group with all the various paths for the compound paths for the icons. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to go straight over to CodePen, and I'm going to do a new. I have a template called Basic SVG Template, which it sort of sets up some CSS, nothing spectacularly clever. It just sets the SVG as 100% so that it scales, and it's a very basic SVG that I use as a template. And in the JavaScript, I have all the my shortcuts for creating query selectors and that sort of thing. If you've ever seen any of my pins before, you'll have seen I always use this setup. So that's what that is. So I don't need this. I'm going to keep the top, the opening tag of the SVG, and I'm going to paste in. I'll show you why in a minute. And I'm going to paste in what I just copied. So that's that. Now I don't particularly want this one that came in, so I'm just going to delete it, and I'm left with a much simpler, a more minimal SVG opening tag. Okay. So we've got what we need inside. I'm going to change this to the same color as this rectangle, so that the background is the rectangle color, and then just delete the rectangle. Don't need that. So it'll look the same. Okay. Okay, so first of all, what are we going to do? Well, I think we need to create a function that's going to assign interactivity to the menu items. So I'm going to do a function, and I'm just going to call it setUI. Now we're going to set up. We're going to loop through. We'll loop through the menu group. So I'm going to copy that, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do for var I. I know a while loop is quicker, but in this particular instance it doesn't matter. For var I equals 0, I is less than select all menu group, and then I'm going to do menu group circles. So if you notice up here, I have this shortcut that I stole from Jack from GreenSock years ago, and it's just a nice quick way of doing document query selector all, so I don't have to keep typing it. So I'm going to select everything in the menu group. I'm going to select the menu group and all the circles in that menu group. Okay, and that's going to return an array. So I'm going to do I is less than the length of that array, and then I plus plus. So we're going to loop through all the circles in here. I'm going to copy that. So the menu item, I would usually use smaller names, but for the purposes of tutorial, I'm going to keep them readable in English. Menu item equals, so I'm just going to create a reference to it. So this is the array, and then this is the first one in the array. The count, so 0, 1, 2, 3. So that's the menu item, and we're just going to say menu item dot on click equals on menu click. Okay, we'll create on menu click in a second. In fact, we'll go down and create that now. Let's get rid of that. Don't need that for the time being. So I'm going to create another function here on menu click, and it's going to have an event passed through it because it's a click, and that'll do for now so it doesn't break. In fact, we'll do console.log e. So when we click it, it'll log out the event. In fact, so let's just test that. So I need to call setUI, and I'm also going to save this as a private pen as well. The benefits of being of CodePen Pro is that you can save as private. Okay, so I'm going to pop my console open, and when I click on it, it's giving me a mouse event. Notice that I'm not actually clicking the icon, because if I click the icon, nothing's going to happen, because obviously, well, not obviously, but the icon is on top in a separate group, and so you're not going to get any events. So we're going to deal with that now. So we can look through. So the icon event, the icon group has a load of paths in it. So we can say in the CSS icon group path. So everything, all the paths in the icon group, we're going to say pointer events are none. Oops, none. Okay. So now if I just clear that, and I can click on the icon itself, and it clicks through the icon onto the menu item below. Okay, so we're now getting a mouse event. So that's cool. Now, when you're making a menu, or when I'm making a menu, I tend to assign a menu ID to them so that I can pass that around and call arrays or any kind of functionality that uses an ID. And typically the first one is 0, second one's 1, 2, all 0 base. 0, 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to assign menu item. I can do set attribute, and I don't know how legal this is in terms of SVG and HTML, but I do it and it works. So I'm going to set attribute, and I'm going to set menu ID to be I. Okay. So what we can do now, I'm going to clear the console. And I'm going to right click and inspect that, and you'll see in here that it's set an attribute of menu ID down here, which is really, really handy. There are probably other ways of doing it, but this is the way that I have found that seems to work. It seems to work cross-browser. So now I can identify them. So in the menu click, we can say console.log e, so if you do e dot current target, my typing's terrible today. E dot current target dot get attribute menu ID. And so now I'm going to get. So let's do the console, click on it, and I notice I'm getting 0, 1, 2, 3. Lovely. This is actually a string, because I don't think you can set in numbers or integers as attributes. So I'm just going to cut that for a second. Oh, sorry, put it onto my clipboard. Just get rid of that. And I'm going to say var menu ID equals number that. Okay. So now we know which one we've clicked on. Which is really useful. Which means we now have. I'm going to just close the this so it gets a bit bigger. And now we can do. Now we can use the stagger to cycle feature, knowing which one we've clicked on. So let's do that. So I'm going to make sure. I'm going to go into my JavaScript. Because this is a template, it loads every single library that I need, and then I just delete the ones I don't use. So I'm going to delete everything, and this is how a new pen that you might start would look like. And I'm just going to add GreenSock Tween Max. I'm going to put on the latest one, although you don't need to, because the cycle feature is part of Stagger in 1.18.4. There is a new feature actually that I requested that Jack very kindly implemented, and that's the addition of the duration property as part of the cycle feature. So you can set the duration for each tween to be part of the cycle, so they can all be different as well, which is very handy. Okay, so when you click on it, the icon's going to get bigger. And when you click somewhere else, the previous one will go back to this sort of dim colour, and the one you clicked on will go large and white. Okay, so let's do that. First of all, I just need to know what this colour is here, and I believe, so if you go into the icon group, I believe it's this colour here. So I'm just going to keep that here for the time being for my reference, because I'm going to do a from to. Or am I? Maybe. Let's see. So we're going to do Tween Max. So what we're going to do first is, in the past, what I've done is when you click on a menu item, you reset all of the menu items, and then you work out which one you clicked on, and then you tell that one to be selected. So the first, so in English, it's tell everything to be deselected, and then tell the one you clicked on to be selected. Okay, and that's kind of the same. That's slightly wasteful insofar as you're telling the one you clicked on to be deselected and then be selected, which is a little bit wasteful. And this using Stagger 2, the cycle feature, gets around that, because you put a little bit of logic in there to say, if you are the one that I clicked on, just do something else rather than be reset and then be selected. So let's do that. So we're going to do tween max.stagger2, and our Stagger 2 accepts an array. It has to accept an array of elements, whether they're in actual square brackets or they're just a node list, like what we're going to do now. So we're going to do select all. This is what we're passing in, and we're going to pass in the icon group, and because they're all paths, we can do icon group path. So we're going to tell all the paths in icon group to do something. We'll just stick it on 1 second for the time being, the duration of the tween, but we'll probably tweak that later. One thing not to forget is here, with the Stagger 2 feature, you can tell Stagger 2 the offset, the time between each tween, or each tween in the stagger. So if you did 0.1, it would tell the first one to do its tween at 0 immediately, and then the second tween would be 0.1 second later, and then the third one would be 0.2 later, etc. So the gap is 0.1. Because we're doing a radio button, we want it to do it immediately. You could, let's just leave it there for the time being. But you need, what I'm trying to say is here, you need something in here. You need a value in here. It can be 0, and that will give you an instant change in everything. You won't get any rippling effects. Okay, but we'll leave that there for the time being. Okay, so Stagger 2, we're going to use cycle because it's cool, and that is an object. And now you can decide which properties you want to cycle through, and we are going to cycle through. We're going to use fill. Now, one of the ways of using cycle is when you're assigning different values for the fill through the cycle, you can either say, right, okay, so 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, and it will say when it goes to the first one, it'll assign fill to be 2. That would be wrong because obviously you can't assign it. Okay, so you could do red, black, green. So this is like a hard-coded and orange. This is like a hard-coded array. And in fact, if we click that, what happens? There you go. Look, it's told the first one to be red, the second one to be black, the next one to be green, and the bell to be orange. There's no logic in here. It's just basically saying first one's that, second one's that, third one's that, fourth one's that. But what we can do as well is we can assign a function to the fill which performs logic. So we're going to do that. So this is a function, and this is a return. This is a return function, and it has a count in here. This could be called anything, yeah. And it's just going to count through. It's going to go 0, 1, 2, 3 based on how many elements there are in your stagger, and we are going to return some logic. So we're going to say if are we going to do it in the what I'll do is I'll do it in a long form format, and then we'll do it in a quicker, more optimized format. So I'm going to say var result. Okay, so that's just a actually, no, what we're going to do here, we'll do if anything, this is confusing, we're just going to say I, and this is I. Okay, I just wanted to prove a point. It can be any. You can name it anything you like. It's going to be a count. So if I equals menu ID, return. So if we've clicked on it, we're going to return white for the fill. Okay. Now with return functions, if this isn't true, it'll ignore it and it will return this. Okay. So if this is true, it'll return that and then stop executing. So it will never return this if this is true. So every time you click, so let's click on it now. So now we've clicked on it, the cog has gone white and everything else has gone to this color. Again, I'll click on here, and now this has gone back to its dim color and the bell has gone white. So it's working, which is great. There is a shorthand version which I tend to use. It's not as easy to read to people who don't understand it. It's just a sort of a short form way. But I'm gonna show you. You probably know how to do this. So we can say I equals menu ID. This is like a we can say if it does. This means if it does that, else put it to the dim color. So return. So we're doing a conditional inside the return function. So if I is the one you clicked on, so it loops through, and if the one you clicked on is equal to I, then return. Return white. Beg your pardon. Otherwise, return the dim color. So that will work as well. So that's great. So now we've got our radio button. And we can add other things to the inside the cycle feature. Don't forget to put a comma in, and we can say the scale is a function as well, same functionality. And well, I'm just going to copy this. Return if I is menu ID, then we want it to be bigger, so we'll do it at 1.2. Otherwise, just set it to 1. Yeah. Now, just a little word of caution. SVG elements, as in most HTML elements, scale from 0, 0, which is top left. So we just need to. This is slightly wasteful here because we're going to be doing it on every single time we iterate through it. We're going to be setting the origin. In fact, we're not going to do that. I'm going to be optimized about it. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm just going to set a transform origin to all these to be in the middle. Actually, even better, I'm going to say all icons up here equals there. Yeah, that's probably a better way of doing it. So all icons. So now this is a better way of doing it, really. I've just created a reference basically to the icons. And I should really do that with the menu group because I've used it twice there. In fact, I will do that because we'll do all menus equals that. Okay, I'm just going to camel case that. All menus, and we will do that and that. Paste that in. Okay, it's a bit neater. And so where was I? Oh yes, so I just need to, so before anything executes, I want to set tweenmax.set. The nice thing about tweenmax is you can set lots of properties, one property on lots of things just by passing in an array. I'm going to say the transform origin of all these icons is 50%, i.e. in the middle. Okay. I'm just going to turn that off for a sec and I'll show you what happens when you don't do it. So you click on it and it sort of scales from the top left. It's not quite so obvious maybe. Let me make the fill. Let me do it so it's bigger. So there, you can see that it's transforming from that top left corner, which is not ideal. So let's re-enable that, and so now it'll. What have I done here? All menu. Oh, sorry, all icons, because that's what I want to put in. All icons. So all icons, and now it fills it, albeit a little bit too big. Let's just bring that down a bit. So 1.3 maybe, so this doesn't scale up so much. Actually, we can go a bit bigger than that. Now you'll notice that there's when I click on it, this one, the previous one that was selected, is more sort of slowly going, fading back. You may or may not want that. From a UX and UI point of view, it's kind of quite good in some ways because it shows you the one that you did that was selected, albeit briefly. You know, you can sort of see the one that was selected, and it's you know, illustrative of where you were, and that is governed by the stagger to the offset here. If you want it to immediately click off, just set that to 0. So when I click on it, if you just watch this one for a second, when I click on another one, it will snap back. Hang on, that didn't snap back. Oh, I know. Sorry. It's this. It's the duration here. Look. And in fact, actually, what we'll do is, you need to set a duration for your main stagger, but in this very new version of TweenMax, you can actually do that with the duration as well. You can set the stagger on it. You can pass that into the cycle. So I'm going to copy this, paste that in. Oops, paste that in, and I'm going to do a duration on that. Yeah, and so we're going to say if you've clicked on the menu, then the duration is going to be it's going to fade up over 0.6 seconds. Otherwise, if you're one of the ones that hasn't been selected, I want you to snap back. I want your duration to be 0. Okay, so I'm going to click on one now, and now if you watch the cog, click on it, it will snap back. And so that feels more punchy in terms of a UI. And then you can just tweak these as much as you like. I mean, that might not be, that might be a bit slow, that for the one you clicked on to come up. But yeah, and don't forget as well, you can let me just see where this is ending. You can assign a nice ease to it as well. So let's just let's outside the cycle. We can do ease. One of my favourite ones. I used to use back out a lot, but actually elastic with using the config is I get a much better result. Elastic. I'll show you. Ease out. The sort of standard one is a bit doingy, which some people like. I'm not so much a fan of that. But what you can do with ease out, elastic, is you can pass in amplitude and overshoot. Is that right? Yeah, something like that. And so the overshoot, I think, is this one. So I can say 0.6 of a second, and the amplitude. The lower the number, the more it will doing. So if I put in 1, it's going brr, brr, brr. In fact, let me exaggerate that by putting the overshoot on 1 second. It's quite aggressive. But if I set that to something like 0.7, it's just a bit. I think that just feels a bit nicer. But you know, adjust to taste, really. So that's how you, or how I at least, use GreenSock's Stagger to cycle functionality to create radio buttons. There's a whole host of different things now that you can put into the cycle, functionality now, to change the other change the other icons when you click on them, or do other things, because every time it's going to loop through and do something to the other ones and to the one you clicked on. So anyway, I hope you found this useful, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.